Hello and welcome to MAWS Talks Wrestling. I am your co-host, the only Lunakage,
What's up, guys? Glenburg here.
and this is our wrestling podcast. Episode 6 now, right?
Yeah, episode 6, consistency.
Yep, we're getting about 30 views per video. That's pretty good. So we got at least some people checking us out, even if it's just to, look at it and then look away. But,
Yeah, you need to take all the small steps to get to the big steps.
yeah. Yep. Also, before we get started, kind of had something funny happen to me at work today.
Mm-hmm.
I was changing out of my work clothes and stuff, so I had my shorts on. One of my coworkers walks up to me and he's like, "Damn, Kevin, your calves are huge." And I was like, "Do you know who I am?"
I kind of felt a Bully Ray joke was coming too.
It was pretty funny. I enjoyed it.
Did he catch on?
Of course not. Nobody knows TNA.
You're Kevin. Duh. That's funny. Good stuff. But yeah, so I guess we can talk about, to open up, what happened on Raw. How the Authority, Randy Orton sounds more like a whiner. Daniel Bryan, still the crowd favorite. Randy Orton being a good kiss ass.
I mean, I don't know. The whole storyline is kind of just run its course for me, man. It's not entertaining anymore. When you have Orton hold the belt for as long as he is, without looking like a credible champion at all.
Yeah.
It just, who cares at that point? Like, you got somebody who no one gives a fuck about holding the belt, who at this point is the biggest belt. Like, it's not one or the other now. It's both titles, the big title. You got someone that no one cares about holding it. You got fucking Daniel Bryan, a guy that everyone wants holding it, not holding it, and they're kind of forcing him in these promos because everyone wants him, but they don't know how to give him to us. They're like, shit, we gotta make sure he's in every promo now, but we're still not gonna give him the belt. That'll make him happy, right?
Right. It's funny how, because Randy Orton is supposed to be like that honorable champ, and he's not, and they have him jobbing to a bunch of people. So, like, if you're going to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, one would assume that you're probably unstoppable, and you always come up with those close victories.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I know the chicken shit heel is like a big thing in WWE and TNA.
Yeah.
But it's like, I get so bored with it because I just don't care. When you got Randy Orton holding the belt, like, it's one thing that I'm not really a huge fan of him to begin with, but then he constantly proves that he doesn't matter. At this point, it's like, the whole point of a heel character is, like, you want to tune in order to see him get beat. But I don't want to see him get beat. I just want him to go away. I don't want Randy Orton to get beaten. I want him to get future endeavored.
By the way, when did he sign that 10-year contract?
I don't know. I mean, he's pretty much got a lifelong contract. Where else is he gonna go?
Yeah, he's one of those WWE ones for life, like John Cena.
If he showed up in TNA, then, you wouldn't have to worry about anyone caring because the whole world would implode upon itself. It'd be like Stone Cold showing up in TNA. Then again, I mean, Hulk Hogan showed up in TNA, so that was already pretty funny.
It's funny whenever a big star shows up to TNA, it reminds me of those independent wrestling companies that has like a guest wrestler show up and get autographs. Like a local Chicago wrestling company We're gonna have Mick Foley in the house.
Right.
$35 for autographs. That's what it feels like sometime when big people go to TNA.
Yeah. So, just to elaborate on the whole Elimination Chamber situation so far, we know already that Randy is going to be facing every one of his opponents in singles matches leading up to the Chamber.
Right.
When they first made that announcement, he fought Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan beat him. Then on SmackDown, he beat Christian. The next Raw, meaning this past Raw, John Cena beat him. And now I guess this coming SmackDown, he's going to face Antonio. Oh, I'm sorry. He's going to face Cesaro. He's not Antonio anymore. Also spoilers. So if you care about spoilers, then
I like how you told what happened and then said spoilers.
No, I mean, you know that he's going to face him.
Yeah.
But here's the spoiler. Apparently, Antonio Cesaro beats Randy Orton, and he does it clean. I think that's crazy. Like it'd be fine if every one of his opponents were going to beat him, which would mean his Elimination Chamber victory would be like all the more special, I guess. But I feel like they made it a special point to make sure that he still beat Christian. It's like going to be a running joke now. Like all we need now is for Sheamus to beat him in their upcoming singles match, and then literally it will be everybody except Christian beat Randy Orton in singles matches.
Just ask for one more match against Orton, he'll prove himself.
Also, apparently, according to a few dirt sheets, I don't know the source. I can't be asked to look at sources.
Mm-hmm. So
take the things that I say from dirt sheets with a grain of salt. So apparently, from what I hear, Randy Orton is actually in hot water with the company somehow. I don't know why, but this is supposedly kind of hinting at, or at least adding credibility to how he may not leave Elimination Chamber as a champion.
Wow.
Yeah, and if that's the case, it doesn't even have to be Daniel Bryan at this point. If we don't get Orton versus Batista at WrestleMania, who is it gonna be?
Right, they probably just write their own story at this point. They're probably gonna ditch their original plan just to try to, control for damage control. Period.
I mean, the thing that makes that hard though is that Batista's locked in. He won the Rumble, and it's more important this year than it has been since the brand split, because now you don't have two titles. If the WWE back in those days they decided that, oh man, our Royal Rumble winner, we kind of don't really give a fuck about him, so I guess we'll have him challenge for the world title, and then our main event will be the WWE title.
Yeah, they don't have a swerve anymore.
Yeah, this time it's just the one championship. So, if they decided to actually go back on having Batista challenge for the main title, then what is he going to do? Is he going to be like, you know what? I'm going to, for the first time, and probably only time in the history of the Royal Rumble, I'm going to choose to face the Streak instead. What other choice does he have? I'm going to go for the Intercontinental title. No.
Right, it'd have to be something of equal value because Undertaker's streak is that important.
Yeah, I guess, but didn't they already do that? Undertaker versus Batista at WrestleMania?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm really, literally, when I see the storyline, I don't give a fuck about the story anymore. I'm literally just tuning in to see the clusterfuck and see if they can pull themselves out of it and see what actually ends up happening. Right. I'm not even interested in the actual story aspect. When Daniel Bryan comes out, great, he's getting screen time. I know it was kind of forced on him, but, shit, at least he is. But whenever he's saying something, I know it doesn't really matter yet, because this wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
So I'm not really invested in it that much. I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to see if there's any kind of subtext or things I can read between the lines about, because, when you look at it cut and dry, it seems like they want to do Batista versus Orton. But if they don't do that, then what are they going to do?
Yeah, it's not that many number one contenders, and I don't know, it'd be kind of weird to throw Brock Lesnar in there at the last minute.
Yeah. I mean, unless, I don't, because, like, the thing is, there's only one pay-per-view between the Rumble and WrestleMania, and that's Elimination Chamber, and Batista already has a pay-per-view match against Del Rio, which is clearly a throwaway match.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the only, like, if they wanted to get Batista out of the main event in general, then he'd have to lose in a match where he puts his opportunity on the line. Like, you see that all the time. Like, last year, John Cena put his on the line against CM Punk, but he won. But if he were to do that, if Batista were to do that and lose, like, that's kind of taking away credibility from Batista. So it's like, all right, so you lost, so why do we want to see you do anything at WrestleMania right now? Although I guess, the CM Punk thing last year was a big deal, so I don't know. It really just depends.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. At this point, it seems like if Bryan's not in the main event, it would be kind of, kind of backwards.
They might as well throw away all the efforts that they did if that happens, because it's like it's being teased that Bryan is the saving grace for WWE right now. I mean, it's not like WWE is exactly winning in the American wrestling business. They have fans, but I guess it's up and down every week, because you see TNA's trying to do their thing. So
yeah, but I mean, WWE doesn't have to worry about winning because they've already won. They're not being challenged, so they can do whatever they want. With the network coming out, though, it's important to, like, try and do everything you can to, generate positive hype. But I don't know, the whole thing with Batista showing up, and this dead horse has been beaten to death, so I'm not really going to keep talking about this. So
it's funny. Well, one thing the network better be. I guess it's good to try to be positive about stuff, but what if it has issues on day one, like some other apps be having? Like, the Attitude Era is experiencing technical difficulties. Won't be available until May of 2014 or something.
It might. Like, that's the thing. Like, they're like launching the network the right after Raw, right after Elimination Chamber. So it's not like when they announced it was good and then everyone could go do their thing at their own pace. No, they're going to be like, all right, ready, go, after building it up. So they better hope that their fucking servers or whatever can, like, handle the influx of people coming in trying to subscribe, because if not, then we will get a bad situation, But I mean, they're a multi-million-dollar company, so I'm sure they thought of that. If not, then that'd be like Sin Cara being in charge of your fucking, like, website or something. That's just stupid.
Botching up the designs and stuff.
Yeah, like, that's one thing you don't botch if you're them. If you're expecting millions of people to subscribe, like, fucking hour one, then you're going to make sure that you got all the beef that you possibly can.
Especially since we have to commit $60, not just $10, but $60 up front.
Right.
That's supposedly non-refundable.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be all right, but there's always a what if kind of thing. If it ends up happening, it'd be tragically hilarious.
Well, have they ever really done something like? Well, I know they had WWE 24/7 before, but it's not going to be the same thing.
Oh no, not at all. 24/7 was a good idea, but the network takes that, fucking shoves steroids up its ass and then like drives it through a parade and shit. Like,
yeah,
the network is
drives it through a parade.
Oh yeah, that's the parade. Fucking, it's got Miley Cyrus twerking, and it's got anything you could ever see. It's like,
wow.
It drives it through the YouTube parade. Like, everyone who's ever been anything on YouTube, and like everybody in the crowd are the guys who are commenters. So everyone hates everybody. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Shit. How about fucking the fact that Dean Ambrose defended his title against Mark Henry, lost via disqualification, so now he still has the belt.
Which is silly. That's going to probably happen every single time with the Shield. Oh no, he can't get pinned.
I mean, yeah, like, guys like the Shield, though, it's like, the Shield are not chicken shit heels, though. That's the thing. Like, they've never come across that, at least to me. So, like, the Shield are like the one heels, or the three heels, I guess, that you could actually have them win clean every once in a fucking while, like, it's not gonna kill you. The whole, one of their whole things back when they were still kind of new was that they were not beaten in a 6-man tag match until, like, somebody beat them, obviously. So in a 6-man tag match, like, all 3 members are in the match, so they can't get disqualified for beating up everyone else on the team.
Right.
So they essentially won those matches clean, if I'm not mistaken. Like they're this dominant team, and obviously they're going to be the de facto faces when they're up against the Wyatt family, because people love the Shield. Like, people love the Wyatts too, but the Shield are the ones that are kind of being teased as, at least Reigns being teased as a babyface.
Yeah, it's funny how he steps more in the center spotlight now. Like how he was leading every movement to have a confrontation with the Wyatt family. Like, he's in the middle. Like, that's right, I'm the leader.
I mean, the thing about the Shield is that it never had a leader. Like, Ambrose was a de facto leader, but he wasn't really the leader.
He's just the one that talked.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, when the Shield first formed, like, Seth Rollins was actually the NXT champion. When the Shield formed. So, like, I mean, there are some people that have a theory that Seth Rollins was the one that brought the Shield together.
I heard that before, too.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of makes sense, like, he's the guy that's still currently trying to keep them together when the other two kind of fight.
Right.
And right now, it's like, they're calling him the architect of the Shield, which could mean a bunch of different things, but one of the things it could mean is that he was the one that brought them together. And he was the only one with a singles championship when they first got together. So, I mean, he could very well be the guy who was technically the leader, but he didn't assume a leadership role because he wanted them to be a unit as opposed to, a guy who's a leader with 2 lackeys. He wanted them to be, all 3 be the guy instead of having 1 guy and 2 sub guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it's gonna be cool. I'm gonna like that match. Like, I'm looking forward to that match more than I am the Elimination Chamber. Like, I'm sure the Chamber's gonna be good, but I'll either not like the ending or will like the ending.
Well, the quality of the Elimination Chamber dropped since the first one that Eric Bischoff made. I mean, the first few ones were actually pretty legit, but then they started getting silly as hell, having an Extreme Rules Elimination Chamber.
I mean, the problem with that wasn't the concept of the Extreme Rules Elimination Chamber, it was the people they had in it.
Yeah, they just kind of started throwing people in it.
Yeah, I mean, the concept was fine. Like, what would make a cage match better for people who like cage matches? Weapons. Why not? Like, like fucking, especially in Elimination Chamber, where you could get a table spot or two, like, that'd be fine. It's just like they had a bunch of guys who shit the bed in there. Like, who wants to see an Elimination Chamber match with 95% mid-carders? Like, like, even if you're a fan of them, if the only thing they're going to get is basically what amounts to the Intercontinental title, it doesn't really matter that much. At least nowadays. Like, the ECW championship back in those days didn't mean shit. And that pay-per-view in general was pretty bad. Then you had fucking Bobby Lashley go over. Yeah, nothing says extreme like Bobby Lashley.
Anybody who was the leader during that WCW was extreme, I guess.
Yeah. CM Punk, one of the only guys that mattered in that matchup, was eliminated first. And after that, there was no saving it because you knew RVD wasn't going to win. And then what you have left? You had Lashley, The Big Show, Hardcore Holly, and I can't remember the fucking sixth guy, but I mean, that's already a recipe for disaster right there. Like, who gives a fuck?
Hardcore, might as well bring back the Hardcore title if they were going to do that match.
Hardcore title. I mean, they could have just had the ECW title be a replacement Hardcore title. Have it be defended 24/7 rules. Like, I don't know. At least it would have made it a little bit more fun instead of, like, developmental, except not really.
I wonder how Matt Hardy felt when him and Jeff were both the champs in WWE, and Jeff had the WWE title, and then Matt Hardy just had the ECW title.
I'm sure he loved it, but I'm sure he, like, he thought that title meant more than it did. Like, maybe there was a part of him that said, yeah, Jeff's got the real belt, and I just got the shitty-ass one.
Of course.
But I mean, if he's a champion, it doesn't matter what you're champion of. Like, you're going to be proud of it. Like, shit, if I were to, like, randomly get signed tomorrow for some reason and then get one half of the tag team belts, I'd be carrying that thing around like I spent $1 million on it. Even though the tag division still doesn't mean shit right now,
Yeah.
Here's something I should comment on. It's kind of like right out of the subject here. Last week, we were talking about the Divas division and their lack of creativity for finishing moves, and I actually brought up the DDT debacle, whereas, like, fucking, what do you think, you're Jake the Snake? You think you invented the DDT or something?
Right.
Motherfucking Cameron, one half of the Funkadactyls, uses a DDT as her finishing move. Not a variant, not a special kind of DDT.
Just a DDT, sit down, boom, boom.
Just if it would have been any slight variation, just to make it different than a normal fucking DDT, it would have been fine. But no, like, she just grabs a head, falls back. No, she couldn't grab her head, maybe, like, swing her leg back and then...
Right, like the Miz.
she couldn't, like, maybe lift him up like Edge's Impaler. No, she just grabs her head, falls back, and doesn't even do it with any fanfare. Like, fucking, at least Raven, kind of had, like, the decency to slap his opponent's back and then, like, throw his hand up as he fell. It's still just a normal fucking DDT, but at least he's pretending that it means more than it does. This bitch just grabs the fucking head, falls back, and then gives it a name. Like, it's not a DDT. Like, it's not the normalest fucking DDT. She calls it Girl Bye.
Girl
fucking
Bye.
The most Valley Girl fucking whack job bullshit piece of fuck. I hate it so much because it's just... It's stupid.
That's slang. Girl,
like,
back.
it's like fucking, I'm broken right now. I don't even know what to compare it to. Like, I was thinking about it all day, That's how aggravating it was to me. I'm like, man, I can't wait to talk about this because I fucking hate it.
Well, I think Naomi's finisher is a little bit more believable.
Well, I mean, no, because at least the DDT, you're still dropping somebody on their head.
As a finish, yeah.
But the thing is that it's just a DDT. Like, there's nothing special about it. It's just a like, you expect me to believe, and like, normally you could make a case like, oh, Jake the Snake, his DDT, the reason why, like, his is so good is because he's Jake the fucking Snake, and he does it so good. You know, you can at least...
He has a rank 10 DDT.
Right, he's got a rank fucking 10 DDT. Now, but you expect me to believe that fucking Cameron, they're all interchangeable. They really are. Cameron, you expect me to believe Cameron, this diva maybe has like 5 minutes of competition a month. You expect me to believe that her normal ass DDT, which is even less devastating than normal because she's only 4'0". You expect me to believe that's more devastating than Randy Orton's fucking signature off the fucking middle rope DDT, which never pins anybody.
And that looks a lot worse because of how he does it too. Like
he's dropped motherfuckers on chairs with that and still did not get the pin. But this bitch comes in there, is like, girl, bye, and then gets the pin. No.
I didn't even know the match was over.
And like, and some people will say, well, it's because they're divas and they're not John Cena. That's even worse because that's implying that, even though everyone knows that the Divas division is a joke, that's like outright saying that it's okay because they want you to think the Divas division is a joke.
So I wonder who's weaker, referees or divas?
I don't know. I don't know. Fucking, I think it'd be better. Like, I would probably start marking out for that move so much more if instead of naming it Girl Bye, she named it Bitch Please.
Bitch Please, like, it's actually a counter. Like, they were about to do something.
I mean, because, like, the thing about a DDT finisher and, like, guys like Jake the Snake and Raven never got to do it because their style was fucking their style. But, like, if you are in the modern era and you're small like that, or even, like, just athletically inclined, and your finishing move is just a straight-up DDT, you know how many reversals into DDTs that we see every fucking day?
Right, just that means it would be a lot better than to be called Bitch Please if it was always a reversal into a finisher. Right,
like I'd start marking out hardcore if like fucking John Cena tried to get her into the fucking attitude. Then on the way down, she turns around and is like, Bitch Please, and then just plants him.
You just see Michael call, Bitch Please!
and then fucking, fucking Cameron is our new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Like, that'd be better. But the way it's presented now is just a piece of shit. It's a normal DDT. We see 93 DDTs a day, and hers is supposed to be special.
I'm waiting for one of the divas to have an enziguri as a finisher.
At least that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, the cool factor is not really applied to a finishing move. Like, that's not really the point of it. I understand that, but like a DDT, when you think about it, if you DDT'd someone in real life, that would fuck them up.
Right, yeah.
So that kind of move, it really does deserve to be a finisher. It's just that my frustration comes from the fact that everyone and their mother uses more powerful variations of DDTs and do not get pins. So why does the lazy-ass Divas division just say, Cameron, what do you want your finisher to be? Oh, I don't know. I don't really think about it. How about, what moves do you know how to do? I suplexed somebody once.
I suplexed someone once.
I don't know if we can trust this bitch with lifting somebody. Can you fall on your back? Yeah. All right, cool. Let's have her use a DDT. That's simple. All she's got to do is grip someone's head and fall on her back. She's
Because
fine.
Lord knows if she does a suplex, it's gonna turn into like a serious neck breaker.
That'd be a cool finisher.
Like a real neck breaker, like
Right.
this is the Indies or some shit.
fucking curtain call, gold dust curtain call.
Right.
That's a cool move. Like, it's a very simple concept, but it's still like a believable finisher because you don't really see that a lot. Like,
Yeah. I like that move too.
like it's weird. Like, I kind of got really weird opinions on finishers a lot because for me, finishing moves are extremely important. Like, they're what makes like the package of a wrestler. Like, if I don't really like the finishing move, you've got to have everything else perfectly in order for me to give a shit. Like, for example, CM Punk's my favorite wrestler, but I'm not a huge fan of Go to Sleep.
I
Like,
see a knee to the forehead. Bing!
I mean, like, I'm not saying it's a bad finisher, like, because it's not. Like, it's a cool finisher, but I don't really like it a lot because it's not as satisfying to me. On the flip side, another thing that you might find surprising, one of the most satisfying finishers to me is the attitude adjustment.
Right. You actually feel like when he does it, boom, that their whole body's shattered, and then now you can pin them.
Well, no, I just like the slams. Slams are like,
Yeah, the impact.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, a fireman's carry position is like, you got the guy all the way up on your shoulders, so he's going to come down. And then John Cena, like, if you were to, like, give his attitude adjustment, like, a technical name, I guess you could say it's like a fireman's carry kneel out falcon arrow or something, because, like, I remember back when he first started using the move, like, he started experimenting with different ways to do it, because, like, when he first started doing it, he didn't drop down with them. He just kind of threw them off his shoulders, and it looked really stupid, kind of. And then, like, I don't know how many matches, it might have just been one, but he actually did a sit-out at one point, and actually did a full-fledged fireman's carry falcon arrow, and, like, that was really cool, especially back then, because back in those days, like, that was what I would have wanted my finisher to be.
Right, some variation verted stuff.
Yeah, but like, shortly afterwards, he started doing, like, a kneel out instead of a sit out, and he's been doing that ever since. And it just looks good. It's a good looking finisher. It's very satisfying. And I'm not really huge on John Cena, but that move, it does it for me. Whenever I see it, I'm like, other than the LOL Cena wins, I'm sitting there like, oh, good.
At least it's believable, I see what you mean. Moves like the jackhammer, that was another believable move. He lifts him up, and then Goldberg.
Yep. Like, when you, it doesn't take much to make a common move into a finisher, because, like, just because everyone does a DDT, that doesn't mean you can't have a DDT finisher. It just can't be a normal ass fucking vanilla DDT. Not anymore.
You gotta feel like you drove their head into the mat and look like they out for 3.
I mean, like, technically, when you look at Dean Ambrose's headlock driver, that's just a DDT with him facing the wrong way. That's really all it is. But just because he's facing the wrong way, and he gives it a little bit more fanfare by kind of, like, winding up a little bit before he does it, that makes it much better as a fucking finishing move. I mean, like, you take, if you have somebody who does a normal ass bulldog as a finisher, it'd be lame. But you get somebody who does a bulldog but kicks off the rope first, like the fucking Dudley Dog, then suddenly it's much better.
Right.
Just little variations. It doesn't need to be much, just little variations. The only moves that I personally give a pass to are power bombs, because those are kind of in the same league as a DDT. Like, they're used all the time, but they're used all the time as what I call generic finishing moves. Like,
Yeah.
you can get like a bunch of different wrestlers. Like, you can name quite a few that use the power bomb as their finisher that didn't even call it anything different. It's just my finisher's a fucking power bomb because I can.
It might as well be near death moves, basically.
Right. Like there's a lot of times you'd see a power bomb and it wouldn't be a finisher. It wouldn't finish a match or anything. But then you got like Sid Vicious who used the power bomb and it was like his finisher. JBL, the power bomb was one of his finishers, not as prominent as his clothesline from hell, but it was still a move he used to put away people. Bully Ray in TNA for like a couple months used the power bomb as a finisher.
Yeah.
Called it the bully bomb, even though that's not the move. Like the bully bomb was his full Nelson sit out atomic drop, I think you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than moves like that, like just a tiny little variation. Even Batista gave his power bomb a little variation, and Batista didn't even care.
He just sat down.
Even he put more thought into his finisher than fucking Cameron did. Cameron's just like, can I just DDT? All right, it's not like you're ever going to be on screen more than 3 minutes anyway.
If it was non-wrestling, it was real life, I could see like it working if like it was an accident, like she got in a fight with another girl on like the street or something, and then the other girl pushed up, but then she just fell back, and the other girl hit her head on the concrete, and she got knocked out or something.
I mean, like,
girl, bye.
it's like I said, a DDT. You know, it is a very believable finisher, but it's just not ever used as one.
Hers looks like an accident that knocked someone out.
Yeah. I mean, you got a bunch of, I mean, even when, like, you got people who used a DDT variant as a finisher, it wasn't even as successful. Like, fucking, how many times have you seen Mick Foley actually pin somebody after hitting his double underhook DDT?
Right.
Almost never, and that was still one of his finishing moves. Like, you know, he would do it on chairs. Still, they'd kick out just so we could hit that mandible claw every once in a while. It's like, tap out to this.
What about the finishing moves that has like a whole gimmick behind it, like the worm or people's elbow, where you know they're gonna be chilling for like 30 seconds?
I mean, I don't mind those because, like, the worm, for example, I don't think he ever pinned anybody from that. Like, that was more of a signature move.
Yeah.
But Scotty himself didn't really have a finishing move.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I think it was Scotty's only singles championship. He was facing Dean Malenko for the light heavyweight title back in the day.
Yeah.
And he hit the worm. But he didn't even try to pin him after the worm. He lifted him up and like tried to do something else to him. And guess what? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Dean Malenko reversed it. So it's like he hits the worm. He's like, all right, now I'm going to pick you up. And Dean Malenko's like, nope, girl, bye.
Girl, bye.
And, you know, like, Scotty got the wins, shortly afterwards.
We might as well just call every DDT girl bye for now.
Yeah, fucking just call every DDT girl bye. Whenever The Rock hits his float over, girl bye, or Randy Orton's girl bye from off the middle row.
Girl bye.
Yeah. I mean, Randy Orton's probably the best Divas champion ever, though, so...
Yeah. He has the Divas and the women's title.
You know, he's a unified champion. He's the missing link. He's going to be the one to finally unify the WWE World Heavyweight and the Divas Championship. Then there's going to be this big match where it's going to be Randy Orton, the current reigning and defending Divas World WWE Heavyweight World Championship World title, defending it in like a fatal four-way between the Usos, who are now the tag champions at the time, and then like the unified United States Intercontinental United States champion, and then like he's going to win, he's going to have all the titles, and then Triple H is going to come out with his like Money in the Bank briefcase that you never knew he had, and then he's going to beat Randy Orton to become the one and only champion of the WWE, and then John Cena's going to come out and he's going to relinquish his John Cena to Triple H, and then The Rock and Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan are going to come out. They're going to relinquish themselves to Triple H so that Triple H will be the one and only personality of the WWE in the history of sports entertainment, and then the world is going to fall into utter black chaos.
And like then the Titantron is going to have a head the shape of that SmackDown fist on the Titantron.
It's all about the game.
You just see like a big crown and Triple H head. Like, you remember how the old SmackDown Titantron had the big fist?
Oh, I love that fist.
Right, it's going to be like a Triple H head with a crown.
I always kind of like to pretend that fist was Mark Henry and Mae Young's hand grown up. But then we got to see that on Raw, and it was much more funny that way, so I kind of appreciate that.
I remember that. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Since we were on the topic of Divas, I guess this could segue into Lita actually getting announced for the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Oh, by the way, like, this is kind of funny, too. Lita and Stacy Keibler were the first two of our Divas of the Week.
I thought about that too.
Yeah, they were our Divas of the Week before we even had a segment called Divas of the Week. It just kind of happened. So, like, you know, just around that time, they were talking with Stacy Keibler, you know, like, planning on bringing her back. And a lot of people thought it might have been for a Hall of Fame induction. A lot of people were upset that, you know, they're like, if Stacy Keibler gets inducted before fucking Lita, you know, we're gonna riot and shit. I wasn't really worried about it because I love both of them, and, you know, I kind of had a feeling that if Trish Stratus was in there, Lita was gonna get in there eventually.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's happening now, like, you know, so now we don't got to worry about the people rioting over Stacy Keibler being inducted beforehand. But yeah, that's I got hyped because every once in a while, you know, I guess I can consider myself a smart mark and shit. You know, I usually have vague ideas of the shit that's going to happen, but every once in a while things will happen that either A, I was not expecting, or B, like I was so far from expecting that it didn't really like hit me. Because whenever I hear about the Hall of Fame, I'm kind of expecting an old-ass dude, you know? Like, it's like, next person to be inducted, fucking, you know, 95-year-old Ultimate Warrior, 105-year-old Jake the Snake Roberts. You know, legends. But when it's like, oh, holy fuck, Lita, like literally...
We can relate.
Yeah, like, literally, I remember as soon as I saw that, like, I barely heard her music before, like, it registered. You know, they're like the newest inductee into the Hall of Fame, and then they, you know, her fucking Titantron with the face and the eyes show up, and the music starts playing, and like, literally, I just start fucking as Matt Stryker would put it, I fucking started marking out, bro. Like, I remember sending you a text. I was just like, yo.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, yo.
You didn't even know what was going on because you weren't able to watch that week.
Yeah, because I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
I think I was like at work that time.
Yeah, I was excited, man. And yeah, our first ever Diva of the Week is going to become the first Diva since our show started to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Then watch Stacy Keibler does something huge next, and then Molly Holly comes back.
That'd be interesting. Right? Then how, like, what would that mean that Kana eventually?
Right, I was just about to say that she makes like a WWE debut and kicks everybody's ass.
Right. Like, I mean, that'd be cool. She's already like almost 40, but she's still hotter than, in my opinion, most of the divas we got. So.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because, you know, Lita was one of the few female wrestlers they allowed to do like spots or moves on male wrestlers, and that's like a thing in Japan.
Yeah.
So, you know, it'd be pretty awesome if they did more of that in WWE, but the Divas that they have right now aren't that believable unless AJ just kind of does her finisher on every dude.
I mean, like I talked about earlier, the Divas don't get any time. They don't give us time to care. They don't give us reasons to care. Like the AJ pipe bomb was exciting for me because I was like, oh man, does this mean the Divas are going to matter? And then nope, they didn't even fucking do anything with it because apparently, according to AJ herself, she did like a panel and she was asked this. According to AJ, some of the girls legitimately got their feelings hurt, so they decided to scrap the idea.
Got their feelings hurt because
of AJ's pipe bomb.
Yeah.
So they got her feelings hurt, and they decided to stop doing it. So basically, they decided to pull something that is even more fucking bitchy than Randy Orton, and they just fucking ruined the chance of getting a resurgence of popularity for the Divas division.
And Total Divas.
But that's the thing, though, and that's the thing that really pisses me off, is Total Divas. They don't have to worry about getting Raw time because they have Total Divas now to
get themselves over. Girls just want to have fun. That's all.
Yeah. The Bella Twins are now the current power couple because, they're dating two of the top guys, and I don't know, it just kind of reeks of and it's weird too, because when I first started watching wrestling again, after having my long absence, I actually liked the Divas. Liked the Bellas at first because at the time AJ was not really wrestling, so I was sitting there looking at the two Bellas and I'm like, wow, these two don't have gigantic fake tits. I kind of like that.
Gigantic fake tits.
Yeah. And then eventually Nikki ended up getting gigantic fake tits, but,
But yeah, congrats on Lita being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, totally.
It seems like that generation of divas is pretty much over.
Oh yeah, it's really upsetting, but I mean, if you really think about it, when did that title really matter? When it wasn't Trish and Lita, their era, kind of, them being in the picture, because even with them around, it even made the other champions kind of just be more important. Like Victoria's always been good.
Yeah, I remember her run.
On a certain level, she's always been good, but she hasn't quite mattered since not AJ, the AJ prototype. Since Lita and Trish, she hasn't really mattered as much because who cares?
Right.
Like, there's not a reason to care, and it's really annoying because it's not a sexist thing at all. Not for me, at least. It's because if it's a sexist thing at all, it's within the company because no one's giving a fuck. And when they don't give a fuck, it shows. And when it shows, no one watching is going to give a fuck.
When it shows, it blows.
Yeah. Except not in the way you'd want it to when talking about the Divas. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we covered a lot of our primary topics, but
which is funny because we actually didn't cover that many topics.
Right. I mean, this week in wrestling, it wasn't spectacular things that happened.
See, here's the thing. You were worried about doing weekly shows because of weeks like this. You're like, man, what happens if we don't have anything to talk about? And then I told you, I'm like, don't worry. Trust me. I'll find stuff to talk about.
And, just kind of elaborate.
Yeah. And I think off weeks like this are probably one of my favorites because it means, I don't have to worry about going off on my tangents because we got to fill time anyway. And I mean, we're not here to be like this stiff, stuck-up radio show. We're just a couple guys talking about wrestling.
Wrestling.
Just RASSLIN apostrophe.
But Yeah, I mean, Impact, it looked like they're starting to try to do something with MVP. I guess we got to see if their momentum actually works out in the end.
MVP's cool, man. Like, I don't remember much about his matches because literally he was just getting in when I stopped watching the first time, and by the time I came back, he was already gone.
Yeah, you say you missed that era completely, I remember.
Yeah, almost entirely. Like, shortly after Benoit died, I stopped watching, and then I started watching again, you know, right as 2012 hit. So, like, you know, it gives me plenty of stuff to catch up on YouTube and, you know, the WWE Network. So,
Doom, 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 doom. That music, that mainstream music.
So yeah, but MVP's cool. Like I liked hearing him talk because he's not bad at cutting a promo. He really seems to know his character. And,
yeah, it's believable.
Yeah, it's believable. And hearing him talk crap with Dixie, like in the way he does it, that's not blatant, but it's still obvious. You know, that's pretty cool too. But my problem with TNA though is similar to my problem with the Divas division in WWE. It's just like I don't have a reason to care right now. And it's not that the product's bad, even though it is. It's just that, you know, when I look at TNA, I look at a company that does not have any idea what they're doing yet. And, you know, they've had 10 years, so you'd think they'd get their act together by now. But for me, the last straw was the whole AJ thing. Because, like, that storyline was getting me pumped, because I was like, oh man, they're doing the CM Punk storyline again, except they're actually letting AJ compete, you know, overseas and stuff, and that's cool. But then the payoff, which wasn't even a payoff, then the payoff was the clusterfuck that we got, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck it.
It's weird to get rid of him like that. It'd be like if WWE got rid of somebody, like, I don't know, like somebody that been with them forever. Like if they had a match like that with The Rock back then, and The Rock was just gone from the WWE and he went somewhere else.
I mean,
something silly like that.
Well, it's just that, you know, it wasn't they got rid of him. They tried to get him back. It's just they couldn't, like, agree to his terms. And he didn't want to raise. He just didn't want, you know, he wanted to keep making what he made, but they couldn't do that. So he said, well, I guess I'm done then. And then they had to take the fucking title off of him. So they did it in the screwiest way possible instead of having a good match that could legitimately put Magnus over, or even a good match that ended with, like, you know, foul play. They didn't need to make the entire fucking match just one piece of bullshit after another. It was not once a real match. It wasn't.
And they actually have the referee count that.
Yeah, it's just frustrating when you see that. You're sitting there like, this isn't even entertainment. What am I watching right now? I'm just watching a bunch of guys in the ring hitting each other, and it's supposed to be a match, you know? But, I mean, thinking about it another way, because, you know, I'm the type of person that's got to look at everything from all sides. Like,
yeah,
if our DDT discussion didn't tell you that, then I don't know what does. On the one hand, a no disqualification match, you're a heel, you have buddies. Logically, like, if wrestling was real and not scripted, you probably would have all of your fucking friends in there being like, hey man, it's no DQ. You guys just need to fucking hold them while I punch.
That reminds me of that one episode of Strongest in the World where the one girl had her whole stable come in and put like this big ass submission hold on the one girl.
Yeah, I guess they were in the TNA arena for that one.
We're really like, the TNA arena.
Yeah, TNA arena. It's not even the Impact Zone. It's just a TNA arena.
Yeah. That's funny though.
But I mean, you know, like TNA still has good guys on their hands. Like, it's just that whenever I see them, I see like WWE light, and it pisses me off because it just immediately makes it, you know, not as credible. I mean, the crowds are a big thing in wrestling now, and when you keep having crowds like TNA normally has, it kind of puts a damper on things. Like, the crowds that they're having right now, because they're overseas in the UK, they're getting huge crowds, man. It makes me happy to see that. Like, I'd love to see them with that all the time. I'd love to see them become a legitimate, not necessarily threat, but, you know, like, be a force. Like, you know, if Raw gets a 3.5 rating, then I want to see Impact at least get a 2.5, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, they actually started traveling back to Orlando studios again, so, and the one show when MVP first came out, that was the live show, so I guess they're starting to get more back to the local, the U.S. scene.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was good to have that overseas exposure.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing their London tour right now.
Yeah.
So they'll be back, and then when they come back, they can start using Jeff Hardy again, because apparently he can't go to the UK. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to TNA, like, you know, people are saying that it's getting better now because they're pushing their newer guys or their younger guys rather, and I mean, that's not really a big drawing point to me. Like, I kind of want to see guys that, you know, deserve to have it. And I'm not saying, like, it should be fucking Hulk Hogan in there with the title and shit. Obviously not. And honestly, I don't ever want to see Kurt Angle with the championship again. I don't think he should be wrestling again. This motherfucker kills himself for a company that can't even pay for it. Like, he's already done everything. He should just chill out. You know, go get a Legends deal with WWE, get inducted into their Hall of Fame, and just be done with it, man. Like,
well, TNA, you know, they pretty much have really credible wrestlers holding the company up, because, like, people like Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, those type of guys.
I mean, Samoa Joe, he can still do it. Like, I don't know how old he is exactly, but, you know, he could still be championship material, because he's not the kind of champion that you're going to expect to see when you tune into an American wrestling organization. And that's what TNA should be. They shouldn't be WWE 2. They should be an alternative. And I'm not saying they should be completely different, but just have different enough shit. Like the X Division, that was perfect. That was a perfect thing to differentiate themselves from WWE, because
that was their original appeal.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like the thing about the X Division was that it was like the WCW cruiserweight matches, except it actually mattered to TNA, whereas the WCW cruiserweights didn't really matter to WCW. Like, you would never see Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis in the main event of a WCW pay-per-view, but you sure as hell saw AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe in a triple threat for the X title at one of their pay-per-views. And it didn't happen often, but the fact that it did made that title special. It didn't make it less important or more important than the NWA title at the time, but it felt almost like a parallel title, because it wasn't.
The X Division breathed TNA, basically.
Yeah, like, it wasn't, you know, like the heavyweight title, anyone could compete for it, and that meant you were the top dog of the company. But the X Division, it wasn't just, it wasn't just you needed to be under 225 pounds like a cruiserweight. No, because WWE's cruiserweights, other than a few select people they had there, was pretty much just guys who weighed less than the main eventers, still putting people in headlocks and shit, nothing else, you know. Like, fucking the cruiserweight scene in WWE was Scotty 2 Hotty applying a headlock to fucking, whatever, like Nunzio and shit, you know, fucking.
I remember Billy Kidman and
Yeah.
Jamie Noble. They were pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, they had their gems, but, you know, like the X Division, everyone was a gem. Everyone. And you knew what you were getting into when you watched an X Division match. Like, it wasn't for everybody, because some people prefer the old school, like, not really flying around all over the place. Like, they prefer to tell a story. And, like, those are awesome matches, but when you got into an X match, you knew that it was going to be two dudes flying around, or more, flying around, like, until eventually someone got the pin. And it was awesome because it was confined to that division, and a few of the better guys, you know, they could branch out and work with other guys and be the heavyweight champion, like AJ Styles. Samoa Joe did it at least once. I forget if he did it more than once.
Yeah, but
And yeah, it felt like a parallel title as opposed to the lesser title or the gimmick title, because you weren't just a champion, you were also part of a club at that point. Like, you were one of the X Division guys. You know, you weren't just a wrestler, you also qualified to be in that group of dudes that could hang with the X Division.
it even
Nowadays,
I was just gonna add, it even made certain people look better back then. Like, you see someone like Sanjay Dutt, who he was amazing in the original X Division. Now you see him every blue moon when they want to do a big ass cluster X Division match.
yeah, I mean, because nowadays, and I think, and it started, well, I don't know if it started, but I mean, I definitely noticed it more during the Hulk Hogan era, because it became the Cruiserweight title. That's all it did. It just became a Cruiserweight title, because they added a weight limit to it, and they didn't really remain true to that weight limit, but they added it to it, and then they had guys that basically looked like jobbers go out there and not really do anything special, and only had like 5-minute matches like the Cruiserweights did, and then that was it. But like, if you were to think back into the days of the old X Division, you know, guys who looked like Sanjay Dutt or fucking Zema Ion, like, those were perfectly fine because they got a chance to show off for, you know, a lot. But, you know, when I first started watching TNA again after it had become another Cruiserweight title, you know, I saw Zema Ion, and I was like, who the fuck's this guy? Who gives a fuck about he's a stick figure? Who cares? Because he looked like a jobber, and when he had his match, he didn't really show off a reason to care, because it was just another fucking match. It wasn't anything special.
Yeah, do you remember, have you ever seen any of the World X Cups?
Yeah.
Those were amazing. Like, I saw one of them, my friend lent me a tape, and Jerry Lynn was like the captain of one of the teams. That was like, yeah.
Team America, I think.
Yeah, Team America. Man, bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Petey Williams, he was legit. Then they put some Scott Steiner's persona on.
Oh, dude, that was actually pretty fun. Like, yeah. You know, the whole, what, the Maple Leaf Muscle, I think it was. That was kind of interesting. It was like giving him more life as a character, but then they didn't do anything with it.
That's probably what happened, because they didn't really do anything with it. It looked like, you know, Gilbert or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I just kind of, I hope that it does get restored to its former glory, and, you know, like, glory, I guess you could call it whatever you want, because back during its former glory was before they had any glory.
Right.
But, I mean, back in those days, at least you can get good matches and interesting enough feuds to keep you interested.
Like, I remember when Daniels was actually a serious heel back then, and he was like, people actually loved him. Now, they make him and Kazarian look like jobbers. Like, Daniel actually, he's a great wrestler.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, they make him seem like he's just a jobber.
I mean, that's one of the things. Like, I mean, when I got a favorite, they're a favorite of mine for a reason, and I'm not ashamed to say that if they're not really doing anything, then it makes me a little bit less hype to care about like the company in particular as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So like my two favorites in TNA are AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, and I believe a close third would be Austin Aries.
Right.
So look at those three guys. AJ Styles.
And these dudes, basically.
Yeah, look at those three guys. AJ Styles no longer with the company. Christopher Daniels, he's treated as a comedy character who does nothing but lose. And fucking Austin Aries, they have no idea what the fuck to do with him.
Yeah, he's pretty much in the same position Dean Ambrose is in. He's just gonna hold the title.
I don't think that, because Dean Ambrose is in a prominent position. He's on the rise. Dean Ambrose is a newer talent going up. Like they had the perfect outlet in Austin Aries back when he first won the heavyweight title. He was really over. You had crowds that normally didn't give a fuck actually chanting his name, which was really important for TNA. And, you know, yeah, they kind of didn't make sense the way they eventually took the title off of Rude because, you know, like you got this guy, they were in the middle of a feud with Storm and shit, and then suddenly, you know, this guy who's a cruiserweight just comes in and wins, and it's like, oh yeah, he's the champion now. But since it was Austin Aries and since he was so popular, that was completely fine. Like, he was over, he was a good wrestler, like he had good matches with people that, you know, were some people didn't even think could have good matches with. Like Bully Ray. Some people think that Bully Ray's not good. And, you know, like he had a good match with Austin Aries. But what do? Like, they take a guy who could easily become the top babyface of that company. You know, when AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy finally leave, what do? They turn him heel because he's feuding with Jeff Hardy now, and then have him immediately drop the belt to Jeff Hardy.
Which is crazy because somewhere along the line he just lost all that momentum. That'd be like if, you know how Daniel Bryan's hype is right now, that'd be like if somewhere along the line Daniel Bryan just went to the mid-card or some crap, you know, but that it would take a lot of work for people not to like Daniel Bryan again.
I mean, you saw this past TNA, right?
Yeah, I did.
Like, the crowd that they had, they were all chanting Austin Aries when fucking Zema Ion cashed in his Money in the Bank drawer, briefcase.
Drawer. Yeah.
And, you know, it really sucks because, again, spoilers for this upcoming Impact, but Austin Aries, once again, despite just turning, is now turning heel again. So again, you're turning a guy who is over as a babyface into a heel again. Why?
They don't know what they're doing.
They have no idea what to do with him. Like, he could easily be, like, he could be the CM Punk of that fucking company. And yeah, CM Punk's a great heel, but people don't want to boo him. They want to cheer him. Like, let the fans decide who's a babyface and a heel at this point. Like, you really don't need to, like, add those swerves all the time. It's like, oh no, he hit this good guy with a chair, so he's a bad guy now, and now he's going to complain that he doesn't have a spot, which is completely justifiable and isn't in any way his fault, but he's a bad guy anyway.
I think some wrestlers are natural heels regardless of who they are. Like, they can always be a heel and get respected for it. Like, Triple H makes a great heel over the years. He can be a good guy too, but his heel roles have been some of his best. Yeah,
I mean that's true, but a character like Aries, and in my opinion at least, Aries' personality doesn't really change. Only his alignment does. So if he's going to be the same character anyway, why have him be a heel? And like, imply that the fans should be booing him.
That it kind of reminds me of The Rock when he was a heel, people still loved him, whether he's a face or heel. It's kind of like with Aries, he can be cocky whether he's a face or not. He's not going to be all honorable and stuff. He's still going to talk crap.
Oh, that fucking reminds me, dude. One of my last really favorite moments right before, because like Austin Aries, when he had that face turn right before he was won the championship, he was still a heel, but the fans were cheering him, and he wasn't being an antagonist. He was fighting other heels, but he was still a heel. Like, that was still his alignment,
right?
Because he hadn't fully made the turn yet. So at one point, I forget what the exact item was, but a foreign object, if we're going to use old school terms here, was eventually it was his opponent tried to use it on him.
Foreign object.
Yeah, but Austin Aries reversed it and grabbed it and then looked at it as if to say, "Well, I got a weapon in my hands now." And then he shrugged as if, "Well, I guess I'll use it." And then he goes to try and use it on his opponent. So, like, he's still like, "Well, I guess I'm still heel, so I should hit him with this."
Right.
I thought that was hilarious because even though he was on his way to being a face, they kind of gave that continuity nod there and was like, "Well, he's still a heel, guys." I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that breaking the fourth wall.
Kinda, yeah. Not really, kinda.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it looked like this is probably the longest show we've done, even though this supposedly was one of our off weeks. That's kind of funny.
I mean, when all you got to do is just talk without much direction, it could go pretty quick.
Right. Yeah. I guess, since we're close to the end of the show, why not, pick a Diva of the Week?
Need a Diva of the Week. Oh, man, you got any ideas?
We already picked Asia last week.
Oh, Kana, you mean?
Yeah. I could have just been like Japan or something. Unless you still want me to go by that land.
I mean, like, it doesn't matter where they're from, man. Like, I mean, I picked 2 Americans in a row. 3.
Alright, well, I know who I'll pick, and she's actually one of the best female wrestlers in the world, in my opinion. She's half Filipina, half Japanese. Her name is Shirley.
Yeah.
And she holds like 3 world titles right now in Japan, like from 2 promotions, 3 titles. And she recently had a match in the Philippines. Yeah. And she defended all 3 belts.
Nice.
Yeah, but no, she's actually legit. She's like, she has a kickboxing background, and she actually is undefeated in kickboxing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, to add to that, well, not to add to it, but I'll call it my unofficial Diva of the Week, because she has nothing to do with wrestling, but she's still a diva because she, is in the entertainment industry. It's a lady named Nano, who calls herself Nano. She is a music artist. She's a singer from Japan, but she speaks and sings in perfect Japanese and English, and normally does a lot of rock shit. And she's like this big ass tomboy and shit. So it's really appealing to me. She's got one of those deeper, kind of voices, so it doesn't sound like, somebody's trying to rape your ear when you hear her sing. So, just to kind of throw a little off-topicness into this wrestling thing.
This is just going to become Woman of the Week now.
I mean, eventually we're going to run out of divas we like.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it doesn't hurt, you learn something little new every day. Some people might actually check her out and be like, "Oh man, she's a great artist."
I mean, this is the Midwest anime wrestling, so like we need to throw in what actually
Japan. With a touch of Japan on it, yeah.
Anime pretty much means Japan. If you're here in the West, you think Japan, you think anime.
Like Japan?
You think You think anime, you think of Japan. You think Japan, you think tentacles, which means you think anime.
I thought you were going to say something else, but yeah. Okay. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up, so we all don't fall asleep here.
All right, man. Okay. This has been episode 6 of MAWS Talks Wrestling. I have been your co-host, Lunakage.
Glenburg.
And we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
See ya. Have fun, guys.